I love the ice cream thing though too, because Liv's a big ice cream fan. It's like I don't eat dairy, and then I'm like, if I can't have dairy, I don't want sorbet. Like, forget it. But that idea of just taking a couple bites and saying thank you, that was great, right?
Yeah.
Um, because I used to like I would take the tub and then I was like, oh, it's gone. Yeah, let me get it out of the house now, right?
Oh,
Might as well just eat it all now.
that's another one. Oh, I just can't have things in my house. Okay, so basically, like the ice cream then is more powerful than you are. Like
Yeah,
it's a
Yeah.
ridiculous narrative. And the reason why we put the spoon down isn't so that we can eat less. To like the brain is a muscle. It's a bunch of habits. It's to teach the brain I can put the fork down and say no.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
I
It's
love that.
powerful.
I love that. Welcome to this week's episode of Her Unshakeable Confidence. I'm Simone Knego.
And I'm Olivia Knego.
You remembered it today. Good job,
Yes,
Liv.
I did. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay. Have you ever found yourself eating not because you were hungry, but because you were stressed, anxious, or just trying to fill an emotional void? You're not alone. Today's guest knows that struggle intimately, and she's built her entire career on helping people break free from it. Jiordana Saade is the founder of the Mindful Clinic, a certified nutritionist, hypnotherapist, and behavioral coach who's dedicated her life to helping people heal their relationship with food and their bodies. Drawing from her own journey through yo-yo dieting, done a lot of that, eating disorders, and self-sabotage, she now guides others to move beyond surface-level weight loss goals and toward lasting health, confidence, and self-respect. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, that was such a lovely intro. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I want to start with the yo-yo dieting because that is something that I think most people have tried and obviously have failed at many times. So I kind of wanted to hear what you went through, what you've done, and kind of also what was the turning point for you to say, okay, I'm done doing this.
Okay, so my story started when I was very young. I was obese as a child, and I'm in my 30s now. So this, 30 years ago, obesity rates were a lot lower. So I was the only obese kid in class, and of course, there was a lot of bullying. I didn't have any friends. I always felt left out. But I did have a crush on a boy. He was the cutest boy in school.
Mhm.
And when I was 8 years old, I was playing tag at recess, and I tagged him, and in front of the whole school, he yelled, "Fatty caught me." And I was
Oh,
like mortified, right?
Hmm.
I like went home. I was like, my life is over. I don't even want to be seen. And that was kind of the start of this journey for me, where I didn't really know much about dieting. I just knew the more I ate, the bigger I got. And so at 8 years old, I was like, I'm just going to starve myself. And so my mom would pack me lunches. I would throw them out at school, and I was very diligent on eating as little as possible. And a really interesting thing happened. Of course, I lost weight. All of a sudden, I had friends. The cutest boy in
mm,
school started talking to me. My parents were proud of me, my doctor was proud of me, and so it really just reinforced this, like, of course, very unhealthy narrative that the thinner I was, the more lovable I was. And that kind of catapulted into decades of, just like you described, eating disorders, and then eventually substance abuse. To I think the initial reason for the substance abuse was to keep my weight down, but it also had this hidden advantage of, now I'm escaping how much I really hate myself deep down. And so, you know, when I was 21, I was kicked out of university. I was an alcoholic and a cocaine addict. And my parents were like, we're not going to pay for you to party anymore in Montreal, which is like a big party city here. You have to come home. So I came home. I started working in a restaurant, and I met a man, and I got pregnant. And that baby kind of saved my life because I could no longer use any of the substances that I
mm,
had prior. However, the one thing where it all started came back with full force, and it was this very unhealthy, addictive relationship to food. And so I realized then that the way that I was eating was very similar to the addiction tendencies I had with alcohol or drugs. And I was like, enough's enough. I have to understand, I have to get to the bottom of this. So when my son was 9 months old, I decided to become a nutritionist, and I'm like, I'm going to solve all my problems here.
ah,
Hmm.
I graduated as valedictorian with first class honors, and I was hired right out of school to work with a medical doctor in his obesity clinic. And I'm handing out meal plan after meal plan, and nobody's getting any better. Because I think at the end of the day, most people know that an apple's healthier than a chocolate bar. Like, they
yeah,
don't need me to tell you that, right?
right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But we keep choosing the chocolate bar anyways. And so I became obsessed with understanding the motivation to self-sabotage, especially when it related to food. That's when I went back to school to study behavioral psychology and neuroscience, and then like changed my whole life, built a business, etc. So I mean, long story short, to answer your question, there were many turning points along my journey, but I think that when I got pregnant and I was like, whoa, something's very seriously wrong here. And then that huge realization when I thought I had it figured out as a nutritionist, and I was like, wait a second, this goes deeper. Really learning about the nervous system and psychology and self sabotage as human beings. That's when things kind of shifted for me, and haven't been on a diet since.
It's amazing.
Mhm.
There's so much to unpack there, but I want to, I think I want to start with the self-sabotage piece because that's something that I talk a lot about in my keynotes, but I don't talk about it in relationship to food, nutrition. So I kind of want to get your ideas, like how do we self-sabotage when it comes to food, and based on your research, like why do we do it?
Oh, this is my favorite question ever. So I'm going to start with the fact that self-sabotage is exclusively a human trait.
Mm.
You would never see a squirrel saying, I don't deserve to store nuts for the winter.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, do you have any pets?
3 dogs.
Perfect. I have a dog as well. If you give your dog a milkshake and you give your dog an apple, the dog, to our knowledge, is not devouring the milkshake going, uh-oh, I'm not going to fit into a bikini in the summer. Like, they're just like, food, good, this is so delicious.
Right.
And so, the one reason why I love food addiction or, unhealthy relationships to food more than anything is because unlike any other addiction, you can't be abstinent from it. We all have to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so with alcohol, you can just stop drinking. Cocaine, you can stop doing it, change your whole friend group, but we all literally have to eat. And so understanding and teaching the brain how to have a really healthy and moderate relationship to food is so important. And so where the issue lies with food is that the primitive part of the brain, just like all animals have, is what deals with our hunger and satiety signals. So the primitive part of the brain isn't thinking about the bikini. The primitive part of the brain is not thinking about your goals or what you want to look like. The primitive part of the brain is like food, good. It's like the dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
The conscious part of the brain, which is a much, much younger part of the brain, the primitive part of the brain is like 500 million years old. The conscious part of the brain, where our prefrontal cortex is, where our executive functioning is, where impulse control is, that's like 300,000 years old to our knowledge, right? The conscious part of our brain, with this higher order functioning, cares about our goals and our dreams. Now, when the conscious part of the brain has a goal of, I want to lose 50 pounds, but it goes against a very primitive function that we have to eat, essentially, it's like, we all have to eat. And so if you only have access, if you only allow yourself access to food in a certain window, or you starve yourself, the primitive part of the brain starts to fire and goes, oh my God, I'm going to starve. And it begins to overindulge. And so, there's so many different mechanisms. We can relate it to the neuroscience component, or the fact that eating also serves a very emotional concept, right? Like food is love. Food literally equals survival. So when we feel stressed, if we chew, it physically tells the brain that we're safe. So there's so many different mechanisms here that would allow somebody to self-sabotage with food. It's very complex, but very exciting. And I think there's many reasons why we self-sabotage with food, but it's not like a conscious choice.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that was my eating for a long time, and then I wouldn't give myself grace, right? Like I think that we get into this mode where we think we have to look a certain way, right? And it's not about health, it's about the outside world, how we feel they're going to accept us or not based on our weight. And I see it so often that I know what to eat, right? I know that.
I mean, yeah, I think most people do.
But then we have all other things going on. So it's not necessarily, I mean, the way I'm hearing it and the way I think about it is it's not necessarily about the food, right? It's that we have other things going on in our lives that we're compensating with food. So like if I'm stressed about something, it's like, oh, let me have chocolate, right? Or if I'm sitting around and watching a movie, I'm like, oh, that comes with a glass of wine, right? So it's all of these different things that I think that we just look at it in the wrong way, and we think, okay, I'll just stop eating tomorrow and I'll just go on a diet, or and like I said, I've tried many of those and it just has never worked. It's really, for me, it's about, and I don't believe in balance in life, but I believe in balance in food.
Yeah, you made a really good point there that like I'll start again on Monday narrative.
Mm,
The thing is if it worked, you'd never have to start again on
right.
Monday.
Yeah.
And I did a TED talk on this my entire theory. So if we can maybe link it up, and so I
Yeah,
don't have to
absolutely.
go through the whole thing now. But the truth is, the dieting industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and yet obesity rates continue to rise. So we
Wow.
literally have hard facts that diets just don't work, right? Because the more restricted we feel, the more the primitive part of the brain starts to go, oh my God, I'm going to starve, and starts to gain access to food even when we're not actually hungry. And the other thing that you said that I just want to touch on quickly is that, our daily behaviors match our deepest beliefs about ourselves, not our
Mm,
goals and our dreams. So one of the reasons why human beings would self-sabotage is I can have a goal of I want to be thin, I want to be rich, I want to wake up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym. But if I think, can I swear on here? Should
oh
I
yeah.
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 Swear away.
if I think I'm a piece of shit, if I think that I'm fat, if I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh God, that's disgusting. Like the I am is I am a failure. I
Mm,
am overweight. And so your behaviors are going to match that despite how much you want to be healthy, want to be lean, want to be, etc. So it's this conflict between like the subconscious belief and the conscious desire.
yeah, I completely agree with when we talk about how you talk to yourself, right? That when something goes wrong and you're like, okay, that's the end. I can't do it anymore. I mean, I'm a big believer in that we have to embrace our failures, right? But the idea of the way we think about ourselves and the way we talk to ourselves, right? It is, I am amazing, right? I am beautiful.
Mhm.
And not the opposite, because our brain believes what we tell it, right? So if we're constantly telling it that it's doing it wrong, that we're doing it wrong, or that we're a bad person, that's what we're going to start. There was actually a crazy statistic that I read a while ago, and this has nothing to do with nutrition or weight, but it just is an example of what we believe. And it was a study about teens who were labeled as juvenile delinquents.
Mm.
And it was like an overwhelming percentage, I don't know, 80, 90% of those kids then went on to serve jail time, because that's what they believe. They're like, if someone's already calling me that, then that's really what I am. So I'm going to start telling myself that's what I am. And and I was like, oh, that's just such a great example of how the mind believes what we tell it, right?
Yeah, it's also why I don't love the diagnosis of even like, and please feel free to take what resonates and what doesn't, but the 12-step programs where it's like, hi, I'm Jordana, I'm an alcoholic. Like
Mm,
I don't like the label, because I think as long as I'm Jordana Saade, I'm a mother, I'm a nutritionist, I'm all these things, and I've had an issue with alcohol, right?
mm-hmm.
Like separating yourself, or I think this is cognitive disassociation, separating yourself from the identity or the diagnosis, I think is so important, because once there's a label, then the brain's number one job is to remain consistent to its identity. Like that's what it does all day long. But if the identity is unhealthy or maladaptive or self-sabotaging, then we're in big trouble here.
Do you think that, obviously this is what everybody talks about now, is GLP-1s, right? So do you
Mm.
feel, because what I've heard for a lot of it is that it quiets that brain noise. It quiets the noise in your brain, like that food noise where you're like, oh, I need to have something. I need to have something. Even though you physically don't really need it, your brain is kind of saying you need it.
There is a lot to say about this. And again, take what resonates. The first time that I was introduced to a GLP-1 was when I was working with a medical doctor. This was many years ago, and it was labeled as Saxenda. And it was used for diabetes.
Mm.
And I believe that if you have metabolic disease diagnosed with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes, then something like a GLP-1 will be very effective. Is it a long-term solution? No, because it doesn't deal with the root cause of how you got there in the first place. And that really is what my whole practice is about. Like I look at the individual as mind, body, soul, spiritual, right? Like we aren't, if you do have type 2 diabetes, there's something that went off balance that got you there. just taking berberine or a GLP-1 isn't going to solve that problem, right? So we have that issue in itself where it's like, yes, is it a solution for some people? It can be effective if you have metabolic disease. It's a band-aid approach. It's not like a real root cause solution. So I would encourage you to seek professional help and actually understand the root of the imbalances. But where the real issue is with the GLP-1s is for people who are taking it who do not have metabolic disease. And that's where we're starting to see a lot of different types of cancers, like thyroid cancer, rapid aging of the cells. There was just this study went out simultaneously back to back with another one where it causes Alzheimer's and then also prevents it from Alzheimer's. So the truth is we don't know enough about it. But if you don't have type 2 diabetes, which is what it was made for, then to me, it is going to cause more harm than good. And again, we're just not getting to the root of the issue.
So then how, in your practice at least, do we get to the root of the issue?
Well, I mean, it's a very bio-individualistic thing, but there are, of course, archetypes and trends that I see with lots of my clients. So I really believe that, your body is pretty incredible. Like what it is doing in any single instant just to keep you alive without you being conscious of it is crazy. Like there are millions of metabolic reactions happening just to keep your blood pH at a specific thing so you don't die. And so your body, just like you don't have to think about breathing or you don't have to think about your heart beating, your body knows how to digest food. It knows how to metabolize. It knows how to do all of these things. It's constantly trying to remain balanced. When we have an imbalance, and that can be, show up as a physical symptom like diabetes or high blood pressure or, back pain or weight gain, it means something is out of balance. And so my job is to really go in there and find where did the imbalance come from? Because the body itself is essentially a shell without the nervous system. Like if you walk down the street and you stub your toe, you don't feel that pain until the brain tells you so, right? Mm-hmm. And so the body follows the mind. And so I believe that the root of all physical diseases, disorders, imbalances actually starts in the nervous system. And part of it is me going in there and understanding what traumas happened to this person. Like for me, it was a kid calling me fat when I was 8. For some people, it's much more severe than that. Parents dying, adoption, sexual assault. But at the end of the day, there's something that's making your body misaligned. And then rather than telling yourself, oh, I'm fat, I need more willpower, I need to have more discipline, it's like, let's actually heal the root of the issue.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think back to when I think I was 15 when I started dating my boyfriend in high school, and he was abusive. He was not a good human being. And I have a vivid memory. There's a lot of things I've forgotten over my 53 years, but I have a vivid memory of me, and I was probably 120 pounds back then. I'm probably 150 something now. And he said to me, oh my gosh, I can't believe how many stretch marks you already have. Like, you need to start eating salads at dinner and skip the dressing. And that really started my yo-yo dieting. But it was that moment that said, wait, I'm not skinny enough. I'm not good enough, right? That connection of that, which I think is crazy to look back at and say, okay, that's the connection I made. But it was the connection that I made.
Yeah. I just got chills all over when you said that, because I think a lot of women can resonate with that. You asked me the very first question, like what started the yo-yo dieting. Mm-hmm. I've never, ever, ever in my entire career, and I've worked with thousands of women all over the world, I've never, ever met somebody who is overweight or has an unhealthy relationship to food who didn't go on a diet. Ever.
Yeah.
So I actually think that first diet, that first, I'm not good enough, that first restriction from the number one thing that keeps us alive, which is food, is the issue.
My new book, Real Confidence, A Simple Guide to Go from Unsure to Unshakable, will be coming out on February 17th, and it's available for pre-order now. So if you'll go to realconfidencebook.com, you can order it from your favorite online retailer. And there's lots of bonuses that will come with a pre-order. So when you go there, you can see everything that you're going to get with it. You just have to put in your order number, and the bonuses will be delivered to your inbox.
You better buy my mom's book.
Because it's amazing?
Because it's amazing.
Yeah. I love you too. So I want to talk about some of the things you do when it comes to your practice. Something that really interests me because I don't know enough about it is hypnotherapy. And so you combine clinical nutrition, hypnotherapy, behavioral psychology, and functional medicine in your work. Is that okay? So how do you decide? Does everybody need hypnotherapy? Is it obviously, you said that everything's individualized, but when do you decide, okay, hypnotherapy might help this person, and how does that even work?
Yeah. So, because obviously everything is individualized, but the reality is I'm one person and I can't work one on one with all these people. So, of course, we've created like a perfect system. The mindful method, it's my baby, where it literally through 12 weeks takes you through the steps of like recovering your unhealthy relationship to food, etc. So, there are like I said, there's archetypes, there's understanding the mother wound, there's all these, like learning to love yourself again,
Mhm.
because I believe if you truly love yourself, there's no reason to self-sabotage.
Right.
So hypnotherapy is a part of the entire process. It starts right in the beginning. It is not it's not that everybody needs it or doesn't need it. It's a tool. I think people think hypnotherapy is like this magic pill solution, and it's not.
Yeah.
Like there is no magic pill. And like, spoiler alert. But it is very helpful, especially if the individual is not extremely resistant to it, to make the brain just a little bit more malleable. So there are some people that hypnotherapy just simply does not work on. It is true that the older you become, the less malleable your nervous system is specifically to hypnotherapy. Although I did work with like a 90-year-old woman once, and she loved the hypnotherapy. So, take it or leave it. But it really depends on what you believe. And if you believe that, your brain can change, and you believe that the suggestions in hypnosis are working, then you're going to be a lot more susceptible to it. But there's many different types of hypnosis, and hypnotherapy in itself is an incredible tool. It was originally developed to help people not feel pain as they went through surgery. So it literally was like the first anesthesia.
Hmm.
So I've watched a 4-hour brain surgery with a woman who did not take anesthesia, and she's just hypnotized. And people do like hypnobirthing. I did not. I was like, please.
I took the drugs too.
Yeah. And so hypnotherapy is incredible with basically rewiring the subconscious mind, or enhancing that nervous system body connection, that brain body connection. And whoever is the hypnotist or the person like using the suggestions, they can pretty much tell your nervous system what to think, which will then tell the body how to feel. When we talk about behavior change, it is not a catabolic state we want to be in. Like, you would never want somebody asleep fully, because the subconscious mind, in order for behavior change, we need theta brain waves present, and that's like slow wave sleep, or learning, or meditation. So the hypnotherapy I use with my clients is a lot like meditation. And it really is just reinforcing, like, your body knows how to be healthy. Like, you eat when you're hungry, you stop when you're full. Like, it's these things that people would want to accept and have a belief around.
Do you have to actually believe in hypnosis for it to work? Like, if I go in there with a bad attitude, will it not work?
Two different questions there. Do you
Okay.
have to believe in hypnosis in order for it to work? No. But if you go in there believing it doesn't work, then it's not going to. Like,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny because my husband was at, again, nothing to do with nutrition, but he was on stage for this event where they brought like 6 people up, and he did some kind of hypnosis with them. And the last person on stage was doing all kinds of funky things. My husband got dismissed early because he did not believe it. So I think it did not work for him. But the last person on stage, and we're like, did it really work? He's like, I'm not telling. I was like, okay, great. So I'm assuming that it did.
Yeah, it's just like, first of all, I think hypnotherapy has a really bad reputation, because it's like, even when you see it in shows, it's like mind control. It's not mind
Yeah.
control. You have to accept, you have to want and that's why I love working with food disorders, specifically bulimia and overeating. And I don't love working with anorexia, but because the motivation to change is really high. People want to get better, and so they want to believe that they can stop eating when they're full. They
Yeah.
want to believe that, like, they don't have to eat before bed every night. So it's an easy motivation to change is quite high.
When you're talking about weight loss, I mean, so it's really, for me, it's not getting on the scale and saying it's, for me, it's about the being healthy, right?
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, what's the biggest obstacle you find? Because so many people are so focused on the metrics, right? The scale, um, the appearance, that kind of stuff versus thinking, okay, I want to get healthier.
Yeah, my approach to weight loss is really different, and it's actually got weirder and weirder as time has gone on. To be honest, my clients now, especially the ones that work directly with me, like we never talk about weight or what they're eating or how much they're going to the gym. We literally talk about like healing on a deeper level, their emotions, their childhood, on a day-to-day basis, the things that piss them off about their partner, right? And I believe that like when what is fat really? Like fat is a protective layer that the body builds. It's like, oh, got to store this for later, or like got to protect myself because I'm not
Mhm.
going to have access to food. And so when we don't need that extra layer of protection, the release of the weight is actually quite easy because the body's like, I'm good. Like I have everything I need. I'm not protecting, I'm not in danger. I'm not protecting myself at all. So I think that the biggest barrier is when people do focus so much on the physical, as soon as we're calorie counting or
Yeah.
macro counting anything doesn't work. If we're stepping on the scale obsessively all the time, it doesn't work either. I have an interesting relationship with the scale, especially for my clients, because I do think that body dysmorphia is a very real thing. And I've
Yeah.
had clients who have lost a lot of weight and still think they haven't lost it. So from a tracking perspective,
Mhm.
I don't think the scale is the worst thing ever. But if you're like, I feel good today, let me step on the scale to see how good I should feel about myself.
Mm.
You're kind of biting yourself in the foot because you're relying on this external source to make you feel like you're worthy, valuable, you've accomplished something. And that's where we start to get kind of muddled.
And I think that's so true about just life in general, is that we search for that external validation, right? Instead of finding it within ourselves. And it's interesting that I haven't thought about that with as the scale is the validation. So I really don't get on a scale. The way I know that I need to adjust something is that my clothes will get tighter, right? And I had surgery about 8 weeks ago, and the doctor said to me, make sure you eat a lot. Your body really needs the calories while it's healing, right? It's going into overdrive, and I think I took them a little bit too literally. But I did like do healthy eating. I was like, oh yeah, I'll eat that. I was like, I don't even eat dairy, and I'm like, bring me a piece of pizza, that'd be awesome.
But
Um,
see how he was the hypnotist in that
yeah,
situation? Like someone of authority made a powerful suggestion and your brain just did it.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting,
That's
but
very
like,
curious. Yeah.
yeah. But I've also learned to give myself grace and say that, okay, I'm not going to change my whole life because I gained a few pounds. It's kind of like, okay, let's just keep moving forward and it's going to work out instead of like freaking out. Because I mean, I see this so often with women where it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm going to starve myself now because maybe that's going to work. And come on, it doesn't work. You're going to get hungry. You have to eat.
Done it before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to for a while there when I was really learning about this, I was just like uninvited to dinner parties because I would, everyone would be talking on the diet that they're on. And like, it's hard for me to not say my piece, but
Yeah.
now I pretty much just wait for the invitation. Wait when I'm asked. But yeah, it's just if you're listening to this and you're like on this roller coaster, I think you just need to ask yourself, like, have I done this before? Did it work? If the answer is no, then it's not going to work this time.
I think hearing you say earlier, like the amount of money in the diet industry versus the rise of obesity in the country, like it just really shows how it's not working. And hearing it like so blanket level like that is like, oh wow, like there is a big issue and it's not just me.
It's a huge market, right? I mean, I would imagine I can see three really big markets in the United States. One is the diet market, two is sex industry, and three is pets. those are like, yeah, that's people love to spend their money on that stuff. So, And another one for me, hair loss, right? Like that idea of there's got to be some magic cure, and there just isn't, right? And a lot of it probably is nutrition related. I mean, obviously hormones, and you know, that's the things that I struggle with.
Yeah, I think that it's regardless of the symptom, really. Like when people are like, "Oh, it's menopause or it's a hormonal imbalance," like that's not actually a root cause either. Why are the hormones out of balance? Okay, menopause, we understand that process, but like I have a lot of young women who have PCOS or endometriosis, and they're like, "Oh, it's a hormonal dysfunction." I'm like, "Okay, but why?"
Yeah.
Why does the body? So I'm very curious as an individual, and I'm always asking, but why, but why? And when you really, really break it down at the root of everything, it usually is this like moment where the nervous system was like, I'm not safe. Like it just comes down to stress.
So interesting. So I want to jump into your mindful method because I love the idea. And, it's that emotional eating, right? The anxious, the binge eating, all of the above. So I want to talk about that, but I also want to ask you, like, what are some of the most interesting emotional triggers you have uncovered with people over the years?
Okay, so this is actually very rooted in behavioral psychology. My answer is going to be so. In behavioral psychology, we have classical conditioning and operant conditioning, and classical conditioning is like Pavlov and the dog. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'm going to focus on operant conditioning for a second. So basically in behavioral psychology, the understanding, and this is true for human beings, there's literally not a single behavior that we engage in that doesn't serve a purpose. Every single behavior that we do serves a purpose one way or another. There's always a purpose to a behavior, or else we wouldn't do it. And so there are four functions to the behavior. There's tangible, escape, sensory, and oh gosh, it'll kill me. Tangible, escape, sensory, and attention. So, and anything that any trigger or stimulus that might encourage somebody to emotionally eat or binge eat falls in one of those four categories. So if we think about sensory, these are the people that are like, I don't know what I want. I want something crunchy. I want something sweet. They like open their cupboard. They're like, not an apple. No, not a banana. Like it has to be crunchy. That's the sensory, right? So that's one category. The attention is when we're eating or not eating for attention. So when I was younger, my mom's an Italian chef. It also was why I was overweight as a child. Love you, mom, but it's a lot. And so my mom, it's all she cares about is, are you eating enough? Are you not? You're eating too much. And so I'm eating or not eating to gain attention from my mom. Tangible is I need to have access to food. So there was one client that I had, and she was telling me, I had breakfast and then I was going to meet my friend for lunch. So I packed my car full of snacks and then I drove 2 hours to meet my friend. And I was like, why did you pack your car full of snacks? And she was like, well, just in case. And I was like, in case of what?
My mom does that.
Yeah.
Every time we go anywhere, she brings a cooler with snacks and drinks, and I'm like, nobody needs this during this 2-hour drive. Yeah, but every single time.
Yeah.
Right? Because you just had breakfast, you're going to meet your friend for lunch. Like we live in a world right now where we have access to food at our fingertips. Like even if the car broke down, even if you were stranded, like you're not going to starve to death. So people with tangible food behaviors, like it's hoarding. Like they have to have access to it. Escape is the most common, and this is where most people will find themselves. And escape is when we're eating to escape usually a negative thought, emotion, or task. So this can look like eating when you're bored. It can look like eating when you're stressed, because when we eat, like I said, physically chewing tells the brain I'm safe from a very primitive perspective, because that's what would keep us alive, right? And so it's also immediately reinforcing. Like you have the chocolate bar, you taste it, it tastes good, you feel good for like 2 seconds. It's immediately reinforcing. So rather than thinking about how shitty my life is or how stressed I am that I can't pay my bills or how much my boyfriend's pissing me off or whatever the narrative is happening in the background, rather than actually thinking about or going through these more negative feelings, the brain's like, how can I escape? And food is immediately reinforcing. It's legal. It's like, it's right there. And escape is usually where I find most people fall into.
Do you think that, what about food as a reward, right? Like, so So you say, okay, I did something this, or I went and ran 3 miles. Now I can go get my ice cream. Or, there's so many times where you see that, right? Or you do it yourself. You're like, okay, yeah, I just did that. So now I can eat this.
Yeah, this is like one of my favorite concepts. This might be one of the most important things I say today. So, if the reward contradicts the goal, it is not a reward and it will never work. If the goal is, I want to be healthy, and so, I ran so fast at the gym today, I deserve this donut. Do you see how the donut contradicts the goal of going to the gym? If you want to eat the donut, eat the donut, but don't do it because you think you deserve it.
Yeah.
As soon as we create this contingency on, like, I have to earn access to this, like, glorified donut or food,
Yeah.
we start to use food as reward or punishment. And that food is primitive. We need to eat to survive, not because we're a good girl, not because we're a bad girl. Like, and as soon as we make it in that category, we make it emotional, we run into big problems. I just want to say one last thing on this, and then I'll let you continue. But you asked me what is the most interesting thing with people using food as emotional eating. And what's really cool is I find that there are some people that come to me and they say, I wasn't stressed at all. I wasn't unhappy at all. Like, a great thing happened. I just got a new job promotion. And then I was like, oh, let's go out for dinner. And so the cool thing about the nervous system is any heightened emotion, it could be a good or bad. It could be anticipation or anxiety. It could be stress or it could be excitement. Any heightened emotion, the nervous system gets addicted to and then wants more of that heightened feeling. And that's when we start to go, oh, I need the chocolate bar. Oh, I need the ice cream. Oh, I need the chips. It's like nobody's addicted to broccoli. So,
Yeah.
Do you work with parents for like developing healthy eating habits for kids? Because like that is, I guess, definitely, I'm far away from having children, but like an irrational fear of mine is, how do you raise a kid to have healthy eating habits with the world around us?
Yeah, I have 2 kids, and I will say that this is not my quote, but if you're worried that you're going to fuck up your kids, don't worry, you will, because
It's so true.
so true. At this point, I'm saving more for my child's therapy than I am for their school. But the truth, the best way that you can help to encourage healthy eating with your children is really by modeling it yourself. And so a lot of people think that I'm like super selfish when I say this, and I don't care. You can have whatever perception you want, but like, I'm making the good meal for myself. If my kids want chicken fingers and hot dogs and whatever, that's fine. Like, it's not that I'm going to intentionally give them junk food, but your children are never ever going to treat themselves the way that you treat them. Your children are going to treat themselves the way that you treat you.
Yes.
And what you want to do is you want to model, I take care of myself. I love myself. It's important for me to eat healthy. The healthy food is here for you. If you don't like it, like, I'm not the type of mom that's like, you have to finish all your dinner or you don't get ice cream. It's like, you don't have to finish all your dinner, actually. I'm not going to force you to eat. You know when you're full. I respect that. When you're hungry, your dinner's still there.
Yeah.
So if it's 9 p.m. and he hasn't finished his dinner, I'm like, your broccoli and chicken fingers are still there, buddy. If not, you'll have breakfast in the morning. Like, no one's going to die. So that's how I approach it. And I find that it's helpful. But of course, I'm not perfect either.
I think that's really great because I mean, this is what we talk about with just everything to do with mindset, that it is the modeling part that's so important, especially if we're talking about our own kids, right? So if I'm standing in front of the mirror talking to myself, and because this happened with Olivia and I, where I was, beating myself up about having gained weight and this and that. And, I was really mean to myself for a long period of time. And she said, first of all, you're beautiful. Second of all, how do you expect me to love my body when you don't even like your own? And it was such a great wake up call, because you think that you're just doing this to yourself, right? But you're not. Like, your kids see everything and they're sponges, and so yeah, I mean, if I'm eating chocolate cake for breakfast every day, that's going to be what they think they should be doing as well, versus if I'm eating something healthy. And you're right. Like, I couldn't convince half of my kids to eat. I mean, okay, out of 6 kids, half of them would eat what I would cook. And if they didn't, yeah, 6 kids. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. But if they didn't eat it, the rule was always like, you got to make your own thing then. So if you don't like it, you can go make yourself a sandwich. You can go make yourself waffles. We have one, Noah, who is 19 now. He's on the autism spectrum. And basically, he had chicken nuggets every day of his life. He still does. Like, he still eats chicken nuggets or hot dogs or pizza. Like, and so for him, I could show it as much as I wanted, but he, that just is not because he's so sensory.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sensory.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a step back again because I asked you 2 questions at once and then we didn't get to the second part. So the mindful method, let's talk about your group coaching programs.
Yeah. Okay. So the mindful method is, like I said, it's my baby. We actually are in a big we're just launching a massive transition. So this will be beneficial to your audience. But essentially, the mindful method, it started with how I healed my own relationship to food. So there's like very specific pillars that I went through. The mother wound is a huge one because our mother is our first access to food. So that usually is where we get our kind of dysregulated relationship. So it goes through, the inner child healing, the mother wound. It goes through the physical imbalances, the vitamins and nutrients, the hypnosis, all of those things. And I was doing it one-on-one for so long, but then obviously, like I said, I'm one person. And so what I did was I took the program and I basically created like an online program where there are 12 modules and there are weekly group calls. And then it kind of it got bigger. It scaled to like large groups of people all over the world. Now we've taken the mindful method and we've created an app. And it is the best because we're launching it on my birthday, which is next week. And it's just a lot more affordable. And there's still the community aspect there. You get access to every program I've ever made, all the hypnosis tracks. And so I'm really, really proud of it because my goal here, of course, is I really I know, and I'll speak for myself, I know how much food and my weight and my body image took out of my life. Like, I know how exhausting it is to feel like I can't go to a party and eat a piece of cake, or like, do I look good? And it is so much mental real estate that this takes up, and it's actually so unnecessary. And the biggest win that I take home from any one of my clients who have worked with me is they're like, I just feel free. And I believe every woman deserves that. I think there's so much more important things that we can focus on than what we're eating or not eating. And I also think that we can have the body of our dreams while doing it. And so I want to give that to everybody at a price that is like so much more reasonable than working one-on-one with me. So the mindful method is now in an app, and there's so many other things in it, but it launches next week.
Oh, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm creating an app as well. So, yeah, I know. It's a
year in the making, but
yeah.
You might be more tech savvy than me. So.
Oh, it's someone else making it for me. I'm not tech savvy at all. When I need something, I call Olivia, or, I call somebody else.
I'm not even that
great. Well, you're better than me. Olivia, you sound like you're in a wind tunnel.
Do I?
Yeah. There we go. It's
I'm
better.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. It's like blowing right on the microphone. Okay, whatever. So I don't even know what we're time. Oh, we're almost at time. Oh my gosh, we're talking and I got distracted. So let me ask you one last question before we go through our ending piece. But what are some of the practices and habits that you use on a regular basis to stay grounded when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to life in general? I mean, life is crazy. Life is busy, and the world is a crazy place. And what habits do you have that help you stay grounded?
Well, I think you said this a few times in this podcast. We were like, oh, it's not, here's a fun fact, not about nutrition. But the thing is that everything that I do is actually not about nutrition at all. It's about you. And it's about building up your self-confidence and knowing that you are powerful and you can have everything that you want, and really getting in the driver's seat of your life. And so I always say to my clients, I'm joking, but not really, I'm like, the pizza doesn't have the power over you. Like, it's pizza,
Right.
And so there are some, daily practices that I do just to can make sure that I stay consistent in my own, I want to say power, like staying in my driver's seat. And so one of the practices that I take my clients through, and this is not from a diet perspective at all, but it is like, just nobody needs to be eating before bed. Like, if you're at a dinner party, it's your birthday, whatever, you're going out, like, totally fine, eat whenever. But like, when you're in your routine on a daily basis, after dinner, there's just no reason that we should be eating. And it actually, if we do continue doing that, it really messes with our blood sugar, our from a biological perspective. And so one of the boundaries that I keep most of the time, it's not 100%, but most of the time, is like, I just don't snack after dinner. And that one is really important. And when I start to feel that I'm like, overindulging or emotional eating, I always return back to that practice. I'm like, I'll eat whatever I want, but I just stop after dinner. And that one's really helpful. The other thing is I journal every single day. And that's, again, really very good. For me, it's about, it's unloading, because when I hold too much in my nervous system, I want to self-regulate. So there's an unloading component, and then there's also a building up my confidence component to it. I try and get sunlight every single day. The sun holds different spectrums of light that literally set our circadian rhythm. And guess what? Leptin and ghrelin, our hunger and full hormones, are hormones. And so even just getting that sunlight exposure helps to reset those hormones in your body. And when I start to find, I say this all the time, but I do not want to live in a world where I can't eat cake. I have the biggest sweet tooth ever. I love sweets. And so, but of course, like, sweets are naturally addictive, right? Just like cocaine. And so what I like to do is I play with little games with myself, not so much anymore, but with my clients, where what I love is Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I have 1 spoonful, 2 spoonfuls, and then I say thank you, and I put it away. And so this is kind of how we gain our power back from these things where we feel like we have to more. We're like not even here. We've left the building, and the spoon keeps going to our mouth, because the last bite isn't going to give you anything more than the first bite did. And so it's really being able to practice, like, putting it down, saying thank you. And it's really powerful, actually, because then you realize, like, you can do anything you want.
Yeah. I love that. So you mentioned confidence for a second there. So what does confidence mean to you?
Okay, so I've heard so many different theories on this, but essentially I've heard that confidence is actually not about how you feel about yourself. It's making and keeping small daily promises to yourself. It's your reputation with yourself. And so that's why my boundary after not snacking after dinner, like, that's why confidence is important. Like, confidence builds that way, because it's my reputation to me. So if every time I say I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym, but then I don't, then I've literally lost reputation with myself. I can't trust myself. And if you can't trust yourself, then what are we even doing here? So confidence to me is developing self-trust, where you can walk into any room, any situation, and know that, like, you are going to have your own back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I think the trust thing is such an important piece of it. Okay, Liv, your turn.
What's the best advice a woman in your life has ever given you?
Oh, God. Oh, my goodness. I have so many powerful women in my life, and I'm very lucky and fortunate for that. I think that maybe I'll just follow that thread for a moment, because I think that the people you surround yourself, especially as women, like, we are meant to be together. Like, women are meant to stick together. And I really feel like, I know with my own journey and bullying and never being accepted, like, I feel like women get competitive with one another, and jealousy and envy gets in the way. And the people that you surround yourself with, like, the advice is your vibe is your tribe. So you basically vibrate at the level that your tribe vibrates at. You need to be very, like, intentional with who you keep in your circle. And that's probably one of the most powerful pieces of advice I've ever been given. And since then, I have so many powerful women mentors that I keep in my life, and it's because of them that I do what I do.
I love that. The vibe is your tribe. I really like that. Yeah, it's great. And the calendar.
It's just the way I am. That's a bullshit excuse to get you off the hook for dealing with yourself.
That's a good one. I feel like it aligns too, right? When we talk about why we continue doing things when we know that they're not good for us, right? Yeah, it's just the way I am.
I just had a client say that right before this call, and I was like, well, if that's what you believe, then that's how you're always going to be.
Yeah. You got to be able to change your mindset on stuff. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So where can people find you? You have so much good stuff going on. It's like, okay, get it out there to the world.
Okay. Okay, so I primarily live on Instagram. I am just at my name at Jiordana Saade, and I also have a mindful clinic Instagram, but like I said, not super tech savvy. You'd probably find more information on my personal page.
Yeah.
You can go to my website. I have a podcast, which I love. So it's called the Mindful Method Podcast, and I'm available on Apple, on all podcast platforms. But as far as the app, it's available on Android, Apple, and it's called the Mindful Method app.
I love that. I'm excited to see it, follow it, and this has been a great conversation because the biggest thing for me is that I hate the idea of dieting, and so it's really helping women understand that that is not what you need to be doing.
Yeah, you never need to diet ever again. I hope you don't.
Yeah. You hear that, Liv? So important.
Yeah.
Don't diet. Doesn't lead to anything good. Doesn't lead to anything good. I love the ice cream thing though too, because Liv's a big ice cream fan. It's like I don't eat dairy, and then I'm like, if I can't have dairy, I don't want sorbet. Like, forget it. But that idea of just taking a couple bites and saying thank you, that was great, right?
Yeah.
Because I used to, like, I would take the tub and then I was like, oh, it's gone. Yeah, let me get it out of the house now, right? Might as well just eat it all now.
That's another one. Oh, I just can't have things in my house. Okay, so basically, like, the ice cream then is more powerful than you are. Like,
Yeah.
it's a ridiculous narrative. And the reason why we put the spoon down isn't so that we can eat less. It's to, like, the brain is a muscle. It's a bunch of habits. It's to teach the brain I can put the fork down and say no.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was awesome. I think I learned a lot. I think we both learned a lot. I think our listeners will really enjoy this episode. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was an honor.
Yeah. And thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Her Unshakeable Confidence. Don't forget to rate, review, share it with your friends, and always remember that you are unshakable.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakeable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Simone Knego and at Olivia Knego. Till next time.